Hey, hey, it's that time again. ParaMystic podcast. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for checking us out again and for checking us out on All Access Network Television. Super excited to be on this network. I can't even tell you how much easier this makes my life than what I was doing before. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this network family. I have a gentleman coming on tonight who makes scary movies. Yep, I went there. He makes scary movies. I don't believe it's a documentary. I think it's a horror movie, which is. I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I have talked to the gentleman in person, so I want to bring him out and talk about this because he had such a great concept for this. Welcome, Doug Plomitallo. Should have asked
Hello.
I should have asked how to pronounce your name.
You got it. You know,
I did
you're
it.
yeah, I have a hard time with my own last name too.
Awesome.
It's a tricky one. Yeah.
She had that one syllable last name. That's it. So,
Right. Right.
So I just want to put this out. Doug is a filmmaker from Connecticut and has been working in television for over 20 years. He's produced over 80 short horror films under his Sacred Stiff Films production company, and he's a writer and director of the feature-length horror film Halloween Candy and its upcoming sequel, Halloween Candy 2. And I got to meet you and Molly. Yes.
Yep, Molly was the star of Halloween Candy. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were at the what was the CT horror? No, what was the convention we were at?
It was,
Paracon.
Connecticut Paracon.
Yep.
I know there was a fancier name for it, but that's what I remember it as.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where we met in that really super hot gym. Like
Oh, the
it was
AC wasn't working.
the AC
Woo!
wasn't working. It was really hot in
And
there.
it was middle of a heat wave in July. That was tough.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun though. I met a lot of cool people, you being one of them.
Yeah.
So, tell me about Halloween Candy. I know that we discussed it, but that was July and I'm old, so I don't remember all the details.
Yeah, so we went to production on Halloween Candy 2 years ago, and it's an anthology film. So we have a wraparound story that contains 6 shorter films that are all tied together by the theme of Halloween. And since it was my first feature film, I decided to kind of do what my wheelhouse was, which is create short films. You know, I've done
Okay.
80 short horror films for Scared Stiff since 2008. And so I'm like, you know what? That's kind of been my wheelhouse up to now. So to kind of get into the feature length range, I was like, you know what? I'll make an anthology of short horror films. So it was a kind of natural transition to
Awesome.
feature film world.
So is Halloween Candy 2 also going to be done that way, or is that going to be like one continuous story?
So we are transitioning out, but there's 3 short films now. The majority of the film now is the wraparound story. I took the wraparound story from the beginning, from the first movie, which a lot of people said was the strongest part of the movie, and I expanded upon it. So the majority of the movie is going to be the wraparound story, and there's 3 smaller tales that we cut to, you know, all tied together from our plot design. But yeah, I think going forward, I'm probably going to lose the anthology format for
Okay.
part 3 and 4. I
Wow.
think I think big.
Awesome. Awesome. I can't wait. I mean, it's like I'm not even a horror movie fan, but the way that you described it to me, I was like, okay, I could watch that. Like I could watch that and not get too freaked out, you
Yeah,
know?
and you could watch it in chunks. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
watch things on their phone, or you know they watch a little bit here when they're in the gym. So I kind of made the short form makes it easier to gobble up because you could watch one of the shorts, you know, while you're, I don't know, cooking dinner, you know, and then
Right.
you can kind of watch it in chunks without fully breaking up the rhythm of the movie. So, you know,
That sounds really interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out. Um, 20 years ago, you started doing short horror films, right?
yeah, about 2008 on YouTube, we put out Scared Stiff TV, and originally I was gonna put out a weekly short horror film until I got to the first 2 weeks. I think I got one out a week, and by week 3, I'm like, okay, this is definitely not gonna be weekly. You know,
It's a lot of work.
even monthly was pushing it, but It
Okay.
really was kind of my film school in a way. Like I've had people that have been watching me from the beginning, and when you see the first couple, the production values are just not there. And I kind of took it as like a learning experience. Why did
Mhm.
my movie not look like this person's? And I really took, I learned lighting and I learned sound, and it really was like a film school. And so a lot of people who've been watching us since the beginning have been inspired to make their own movies because they see where we started, which was, I didn't know anything about lighting. Lighting for me was I can see the actor.
Ah,
There was no style. Any style was accidental. But
well, that is a start, I suppose, to be able to see the actor, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and so a lot of people have, which I definitely see their point. I've thought about it. Some people say you should probably take the earlier ones down because if that's somebody's introduction to me, they may turn it off. Which it is true, but there are people like I mentioned that look at us. I shouldn't just say me. It's like I have some people that have been with me for 15, 16 years, and it's something that I think makes us more approachable for other aspiring filmmakers because they can see our humble beginnings.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of nice that I see, common names messaging me and saying, "Hey, I saw your latest one. I can't believe how far you've come." So it's kind of nice.
That is nice. Well, and then they have it there to compare it to, so they can see how far you've come.
Right.
So why the horror genre?
It's a good question, and I don't really have a real answer. And I do have an answer, but not a real answer. What I
Okay.
mean by that is I always find that there's intangibles in life, things you can't really put a finger on, and it's
Mhm.
like that's always what I've been drawn to. And I can't tell you why. I just always, ever since a kid, I remember even in kindergarten, we would have nap time. And I remember in October, the teacher put a bunch of Halloween decorations on the wall, and I didn't take my nap. I couldn't stop looking at the Halloween decorations. So for me, it was something I was always drawn to, was this like kind of scary stuff. I don't really have a better answer, just kind of the intangibles of that genre that always attracted me to it.
That's interesting. I have a 5-year-old grandson who is also drawn to scary stuff. I find that interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nature versus nurture. I don't know. It's some of it's that was definitely nature. Although my dad was into Halloween too. He always got really excited. He put like the little Bizel or Bezel cardboard cutouts around the house. And I was always
Okay.
so excited when I would come home and he would have like the little bats out. So he probably contributed to it a little bit.
There you go. So overall, do your stories follow like a similar pattern, or are they all kind of different as far as the writing goes, as far as the screenwriting?
So what the first well going by Halloween Candy, I wanted stories that were different enough. It's kind of like so Halloween Candy, the theme, it's you get a grab bag of goodies. Some are good, some are bad. Some
Okay.
some you may like, some you may not like, and other people may love. So like there's a little about something for everybody. So I have one segment's about a Ouija board, one's about a haunted house, another one is like a supernatural tale with like, vampires. And so one of them is a straight up serial killer. So there's a little bit something for everybody, which is nice about the anthology format is you don't really have to stick to any rules when
Right.
when doing these. So and very it's very interesting that's hearing the feedback because there are certain tales that through comments I get on the internet or reviews people love, and the ones that they hate. There's one specific that generally gets bad comments, but we had a live viewing back in May at here in Connecticut, and the one that got the biggest reaction was the one that online is the one that people like the least, you know? And it could
Hmm.
be a demographic. It was kind of an older demographic that was there on the live screening. So it's a little something for everybody. And if
Wow.
someone doesn't like the short they're watching, give it 10 minutes, you'll get a new one.
There you go.
Yeah,
Short stories on film,
right.
that's yeah. Um, so what is your background as far as like screenwriting? Is that something that you're also learning as you go, or how did that come about?
I took a screenwriting class. This one, like I wasn't in film school per se. I went to school for communications, and it was like an introductory to the tools for TV production. But a lot of it was self-taught. Um, but I watched a lot of movies, fittingly enough. But I didn't just kind of watch and just take it in. I was really studying. I read a lot of filmmaking books. I watched a lot of like the DVD commentaries. That was kind of stuff that I would learn. It was kind of a film school on my own. I do a lot of tutorials. I pay a lot of money to like do like online courses. So I kind of
Okay.
if I just really have been dove right in. You know what I mean? But I guess I wasn't like classically trained in writing. I took like it wasn't affiliated with any school. It was like Stanford Continuing Ed, and I did a screenwriting class there. But that was about it.
Okay.
You
So like an
know,
online class, or
that was in person.
that
There was
was
a
a person? Okay.
Yeah, but just it's really like this taking feedback. The 80 short films, you get your harshest critics on the internet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And a lot of times I don't give it any bother when it's just, oh, I want my 8 minutes back. Okay, well, you weren't doing anything that important if you're just watching YouTube videos. But there's people
Right.
that give really constructive criticism, and
Mhm.
I'm always been very open to it. You know what I mean? If someone says, hey, this didn't make any sense why this person did that, like I try to learn from my other short films. I put one out there, and it's so good to get feedback. Sometimes you really need to decipher between the nasty comments and the critical comments, you know what I mean, which are
Mhm.
helpful. So it's a little of everything. I try to learn. I made a point to myself years ago that I try to learn something every day. As-
I love
as-
that.
and no matter what it is, if it's as little as learning a shortcut in my editing software, or if it's learning a new technique in lighting every day. If it's 5 minutes watching a YouTube video on color grading or sound, every day I try to learn one new thing. So it's like in a year, that's over 300 new things that I've learned. So that's kind of what I've been doing for all these years. And I've always made it a point that I never stop learning. I feel never rest on your laurels. There's always something new, especially in an ever changing field. People should always be learning.
I
You
couldn't
know,
agree more. I
yeah,
couldn't agree more. Yeah. I would like to say I'm ambitious enough to learn something new every day, and I think I probably do, even if it's by accident. But,
right.
there's, uh, I think I'm interviewing you about a genre that I really know very little about because it's something I've never been drawn to, but I'm interested in the people who are involved in it. So, when you are choosing um, actors, how do you go about that process?
Amazingly enough, for the latest movie, believe it or not, I got most of my actors from Facebook acting groups. It's
Nice.
amazing. I had tremendous, tremendous actors. Actually, the star of the film, she was in the first movie, Amber Rothberg, and I think I connected with her through Facebook. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
a lot of actors are really putting themselves out there, and they have great websites, and they look for postings, and it's a really great way for people, from filmmakers, to connect with actors. Then I do virtual auditions, and it's been pretty amazing. The first one I used a casting director, but the second one I just did it on my own, and
Okay.
I couldn't be happier with the connections. Like, so actually, some of the actors, I met one actress on an airplane, which is funny. Um, and we connected, and just I reached out to her. And another actor I met, he was also a filmmaker, and I had a film in one of his film festivals. So there's connections,
Right.
which is huge to do. It's just in any field, but like I'm just talking about the film industry. It's just connections are so key. You
Right.
know, yeah,
Yeah. In the paranormal and spiritual field, which is the field that I'm in, is also very much, you make connections that connect you to connect you to connect you. And it just keeps growing and your network keeps getting bigger and bigger. And have you found actors through a situation like that and then went, nah, that's not going to work? Have-
oh, through like a non meeting someone through a non traditional way.
right.
I'm sure there has been. I can't nothing that's like standing out. I've
Okay.
definitely had actors on set that as they're need a little more coaching, I'll just say.
Okay.
Like soon like when they start delivering dialogue and it's not what I remember from the audition, but it's there. So sometimes it takes a little longer, but I've never had to. One time I recasted an actor after we were done shooting. This is about 15 years ago. It just wasn't working. And we all looked at each other and set. We're like, oh no. It just took a dramatic scene to a comedy, you
Okay.
know, and we had to reshoot that. And I told him, and he understood. He knew he wasn't doing good. Is that the question you asked?
That was the question that I asked.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I do like though that you draw from a wider pool. It's not, going for the $1 million or multi-million-dollar superstars. Like you're making stars, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited with the actors in the movie. I was, as they were performing, I got so excited because they took what I wrote and I felt like a genius hearing them reading the dialogue because they were so good. But it's really they took what I did and just took it way further than I anticipated, and it was really exciting. Um, so yeah, a lot of we do is what is out of necessity.
Mhm.
I clearly these are mainly funded out of pocket, so I can't really afford someone to pay them 30 grand for a week. You know what I mean?
Right.
So um, we shot the main wraparound story, the main chunk of it in about 4 days,
Okay.
which turned out to be an hour of screen time once edited in a 4 day span. So that's out of necessity. If I was a big budget film, we would have shot that in 3 weeks. You know what I mean? What we did in
Right.
4 days. So a lot of the indie filmmaking, low budget filmmaking, is you do things out of necessity, which sometimes they say what is the term? The necessity brings
And
invention.
necessity is the mother of invention or
There you
something like
go.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So in a way, like I wouldn't have it any other way right now because some of the stuff we come up with to disguise the fact that we don't have more money, we get very creative. Like if we did have a
Mhm.
lot of money, would be like, okay, let's this is an example. This doesn't happen in the movie. Let's have the person get decapitated. But since we don't have the money to do that, we find something cooler and more creative to do a kill in one of the scenes. So
Okay.
it's sometimes it's nice to have an limits because you make it work.
Mhm.
And you find workarounds to doing something on the cheap.
Yes. Yeah. When I was in England, we did 10 episodes of a paranormal documentary in 5 days,
Mm.
like 2 locations a day. So,
Wow.
yeah, I know what you're saying about you squeeze it in there, you get it done with what you have, you get it done. So, yeah, I understand that even though I have very limited film experience, that's kind of the sum total of my film experience. But it's yeah, I see what you're saying though. You have to get creative and you have to use what you can, what's available.
Yeah. And one thing I'm very excited about for the second movie is I've only shared a few screen grabs, but I really can't wait to get some clips out there because
Hmm.
I think people will be very surprised. I think the budget we're actually still shooting it, believe it or not, but we're about 80% done. And I think we'll probably end up about 30 to 35,000 for the budget. And I'm really hoping I think people may watch it and have no idea how low budget this thing actually was. The acting is not low budget at all. The acting is amazing. And some of the actors have actually been cast in pretty big things since this movie's happened.
Oh,
So
nice.
the actors were fantastic, and I'm a professional director of photography. So I DP'd and I directed, which was a challenge.
Hmm.
So I wrote, directed, DP'd, and now I'm editing. So it's what we got to do.
Exactly. Exactly. We did our own filming and editing and starring and all that too. So yeah.
Yeah. I eliminated a lot of the top of the line items just by me doing it myself. You
Okay.
know, I didn't have to pay the writer, didn't have to pay the director. You know, like
Mhm.
I didn't take any of the budget and put it towards writing or directing. I'm like, nope, that'll cut away a huge cost if I just do it myself.
Right.
And so it's I'm very excited for people to see this one.
Yeah, and make sure that you let us know because when it's released, I wanna have you back on.
Oh, cool. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say this, we had a huge week as far as publicity. We got write-ups in Yahoo this week and a bunch of wrestling websites. We probably about a dozen and a half websites wrote articles on our movie. So
I
we
love that.
which is
That's
very
awesome.
exciting. Yeah.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
So what do you do as far as promoting it? Like, what is your advertising? Or how do you do that as a small production company? How do you do the advertising?
Well, Halloween Candy 1, I have a distributor who does all the marketing. So we
Okay.
signed on with the distributor. So I post about it, but they kind of handle a lot of the marketing for this one.
Okay. And do you have a promo video that we can run on here?
I do. I have a 30-second it's a teaser.
That would
Yeah,
be
there's
perfect.
definitely one I can give you to post.
Awesome. That
Yeah,
would
or
be great.
you want to watch it now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Give me I should have planned for this.
I should have planned for this. Sorry
Let
about
me
that.
see. No, it's fine. Let me see if I can find it on my computer here. Uh, I'm sure this is not great TV right now.
It's all good. It's all good. We kinda surprised you, we just sorta
I do have one I can send you.
threw
You
it
can
into there.
I
Yes,
I don't think I have it on this computer anymore.
we can
But
pause it. We can pause the recording. We're not live, so we can
okay.
pause the recording and do that.
Yes.
So, you said I asked you if you had a trailer, I believe, for your movie, and you said you found one. Would you like to share that with us?
Absolutely. Here is an early teaser trailer from Halloween Candy.
Awesome.
Trick or treat! Are you home alone?
Yeah, why do you ask?
Because there's someone in your house.
I think I might have gotten myself into a little trouble.
Trouble? What do you mean?
Wow. It's a little intense, but, again, I'm not in the horror genre, but wow, that's really well done. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks for playing it. Yeah, so you can see that there's a wide variety of stories as we told. You can see the killer clown, you can see, the Ouija board segment. So a little variety, a
Mhm.
little bit of Halloween Candy, a little variety for everyone.
Wow, that's really incredible. I just so much admire people's creativity and, as a writer, I'm a technical writer. I'm not a creative writer. So when I see, screenwriting and things like that, I'm so amazed by the storytelling. And to be a writer, you have to be a storyteller.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun writing. And I try to one thing I always try to keep in mind. I know a lot of people use AI for writing, but for me, I don't ever want to even try to use it cuz for me to I love finding a, a character out of a situation. So sometimes I'll write myself kind of into, okay, well, how am I going to get him out of this house now or whatever? You know what I mean? And I
Right.
love coming up with the solution. Okay, and I feel like I know a lot of times it's become more popular for people to go to Chat GTP and say, "Hey, this character, I have to get him out of the house. What would they do?" But for me, I need to be connected to the characters, and I need to be their decision maker and know what the character was thinking. because when I start writing dialogue, sometimes like I know the characters inside and out that it actually flows right from my fingers. Like I'm having full conversations without even thinking of it. That's why I well, that's why I have to, write it right from my head. No help from computers. I know this is kind of going off on a tangent, but it's so pertinent nowadays. But like
It is.
I really enjoy writing characters and the dialogue, and it's a challenge to write as a child. And now another scene I'm writing as a teenage girl, and this scene I'm writing as an 80-year-old man. And it's kind of a challenge, but it's part of the fun. I'm getting to create new characters in all different demographics, and it's kind of fun.
That's awesome. Does it feel like the characters are talking to you, telling you their story sometimes?
I guess for each character, I'm in their head temporarily. It's like almost
Okay.
no character I write is just I guess yeah. In I never thought of it that way until you just asked that. But I'm always writing kind of in first person. So for each character, everyone has their motivation.
Mhm.
Like no one's just there because someone put them there. Like why is this character here? This character's here because she has a crush on this guy and she's hoping to get closer to him from being at this party. You know what I mean?
Right.
And maybe these things aren't ever like spoken, but I have to give each character motivation because it becomes real in my head. That's where the dialogue comes from. When I fully understand this character and their motivations and why they're there, where did they come from, who do they like in this house, who do they not like, and then it makes the writing so much easier.
I think that's amazing. Not being a storyteller myself, I am amazed when I see someone who can tell a story very well. You know, I'm actually looking forward now to going back and watching the first Halloween Candy because I had not watched it. And oh, yeah, that's my next question. Where can we find it?
Ah, yes, is playing on a number of platforms. You can watch it on Tubi. Um, that's the. Do you have a Tubi account?
I do.
Oh, great! Tubi is awesome. Tubi is such a charm, especially for like horror movies. You know,
Okay.
and a lot of like even like movies from like the 70s or 80s that you haven't watched since you were a kid.
Mhm.
They have a huge selection. So Tubi's too. I was so excited when I landed on. Sorry, I was so excited when I landed on Tubi because I watched so much Tubi. I watched more Tubi than anything else that I actually like pay to subscribe to.
Okay.
But it's also on Amazon. If you want to watch it without commercials, it's available on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
There's available on Fossum, which is another streamer that's similar to Tubi. There's YouTube has it. If there is cut and uncut versions on YouTube, so for if kids want to watch it, you can watch it. Some of the stuff cut out, some of the content.
Okay.
But uncut, you can watch it on Tubi, YouTube, Fossum, Amazon, Scare Network TV. There's a whole bunch of streaming services where you can watch it.
That's great. It's always good to know where to find things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you still have the Scared Stiff YouTube channel for the short ones, the short films?
Yeah, they're all there. I'm kind of transitioning out. Like I always want to have some content for the YouTube page. What that is constantly evolving. I have
Okay.
3 short films that I have done in the can, and I don't know if I'm gonna have release them as the final like Scared Stiff short films and just kind of do more documentary style stuff on the main channel. I'm not entirely sure yet because I was one time I was monetized on YouTube and I got small checks every month, and then I was demonetized from there a while ago, almost a decade ago now. And I would put out a movie and it would be seen by 20,000 people, 30,000 people, and then it kind of was it. Didn't really have a return on investment. So I think as the movies progressed, they became a lot more time went into it, a lot more money went into it, to the point when I'm like, you know what, I really need to make a return on my product that I'm putting out there. That's kind of
Right.
what I officially transitioned to features. it became less of a hobby and more of a career, and so I'm like, you know what, I just can't be just dropping things for free anymore on YouTube.
Right, especially because there's so much time and energy and money that goes into creating these things in the first place,
Yeah.
you
Like when I
know?
first started, I would shoot an entire movie in a day, maybe 2 days. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
because there was no lighting involved, but as they became more involved, I'd have some movies that I would shoot for 10 days, and they didn't, with just the whole system, it was not possible to even make a penny back because I was demonetized off of YouTube. And I was
Yeah,
doing it more out of passion, but I'm like, all right, I need to evolve a little bit here.
right, right. And you can't go into debt forever to put out
Right.
content, I know.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
don't think I told you this before, but I actually had a brief paranormal show.
You did?
I did. It was called Psychic Adventures, and it was me and a psychic here in Connecticut, and we would go to different locations, like the Stepney Cemetery in Dudleytown, which
Okay.
I don't think we were supposed to have been there. In hindsight, when I looked into it, I was like, I guess we weren't supposed to have been there, but I was the camera guy along for the ride. But yeah, so I had a very short spell doing paranormal content.
And did you enjoy that?
I did, yeah. I've always been very, very into. I am not psychic, but I've always been very into that whole realm.
Okay. I have to share with you, I wrote an entire program and a book on the fact based on the idea that everybody is psychic.
Okay.
Everyone has sort of gut feelings or, that sort of thing, some sort of intuition. And um, I'm always amused when somebody says that they're not psychic because you got to go on hunches. You can't do what you do without hunches. I'm sure of it. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, actually I saw a psychic. Both my parents had passed years ago, and I saw a psychic, to try to connect with them. And he said that somebody in our family has a connection. So one of
yeah,
me or my sisters or nieces and nephews, someone's got the power.
someone does. Yeah. I think everybody does. It's just a matter of recognizing it. But, that's what I built my program on was the idea that everybody has it.
It makes sense because sometimes, like when you meet somebody and you have a strong connection to them, like right
Mhm.
away, or sometimes even the other way around.
Right.
So that could be that power,
Yeah. I
you
think
know?
it is, because we all feel energy. I mean, we're made of energy, so we can't not feel energy. So when you meet somebody and that energy either connects or repels, to me, that's a psychic ability. It's tuning into what the energy is telling you.
Yeah. No, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that makes total sense.
Awesome. See, now
Yeah,
now you have that to incorporate into your writing.
absolutely. Yeah, but I had the experience I had back in the early 90s. Like we lost someone really close to us, my family, very young, and my sister had seen a psychic, and the details that he came up with were spot on. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
couldn't believe pulling out names right away, knew how certain people died. I was like, "Whoa." And I'm like, this stuff's legit.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I was a full believer. Actually, they let you the guy I saw, they let us record on CD, so I still have it. And I was very impressed, and it's like, wow, this stuff's legit.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, there's a bunch of shysters in there too, but I think
Right.
that that's probably every industry, you
So,
know?
I'm always a healthy skeptic. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
feel it's good to put faith in something, but also it's really good to be like, okay, like maybe this person isn't being truthful. Maybe they're just good at reading body language. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or just poker faces. Like that's why the one thing I wish I did not is they asked for a credit card before I went. And I just wish I didn't do that because he has my last name, and I don't want to have an inkling of doubt when I do these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because who knows? People can Google somebody, but when my sister went in the '90s, there was no Googles, and that guy nailed it, which blew my mind. So I trusted this guy, but yeah, I kind of it's good to be a healthy skeptic.
I agree. I
You know?
agree. Just to buy into everything carte blanche is not wise,
Right? Yeah,
you
for
know.
sure.
But yeah, unfortunately, those of us who own a business, regardless of what it is, generally have to take payment up front these days because we get stiffed a lot if we don't.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I totally understand it. I think from my head though, I was just like, I didn't want to have any inkling of doubt going into it. You know,
Yeah, I
that's
get that.
but I totally understand why they need a payment in
Yeah,
advance. So I'm sure people would no show. You
they
know,
do.
yeah,
They do.
yeah,
Yeah. Just recently, I've started doing that for that reason.
yeah,
You set time aside for somebody and then they don't show up. Well, you can't really do anything with that time. So,
yeah,
but
yeah. The doctors get their copay if you don't show up. So yeah, it makes
yeah,
it
lawyers
makes
too.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's nothing that no other industry does or doesn't
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, I'm just so curious about storylines. Like, where do they come from? Like, do you know where they come from? Do you just they just sort of pop into your head? How does that work?
So, good question. Yeah, actually, when I try to think of a good storyline, I don't. When it pops into my head is like when I'm mowing the yard or I'm shoveling snow or I'm in the shower
Yeah.
and I just think. So, I got into a bad habit of just listening to podcasts when it was quiet. Like when I'm cleaning, I put a podcast on, which I still listen to podcasts, but I'm trying to limit it because that is historically when I get my best ideas is when it's quiet and I'm thinking, Instead, sometimes I'll even in the shower, I'll have a podcast on a speaker. And now I'm now just listening to that and I'm not like brainstorming or thinking because a lot of times these things they just most of my best stories have just popped into my head, you
I
know?
love that.
Yeah. So or like lying in bed and I can't sleep, sometimes it'll come to me or just random spots. Occasionally, I'll have a dream that I'll incorporate into a story, but that's not as frequent. I got lucky to have a couple of them come from a dream. you know,
That would be a kind of a cool way to receive a story.
yeah, yeah. Although I a couple times at a necessity, early on in my show, like my buddy, his wife owned a dance studio, and their rent was up, and they had to vacate the building. And he's like, "Hey, we have it till next weekend. Do you have anything you want to shoot here?" So I wrote a short film to be filmed in this dance studio. So, sometimes out of necessity or if I have a short period of time to do something, sometimes the better ideas will come versus if I was thinking too long on it, you know what I mean? Sometimes having
Right.
that deadline will help the creativity it's in my head. Some people, it may not work, but for me, having some limits helps me quite a bit. And that time is because I had this dance studio. Hey, if you want to film something, it's free. Sure. I'll write something. So they come from
Yeah.
all different areas.
Yeah, free is good.
Yeah,
Free
for
especially
sure.
locations, because locations can be expensive.
That's probably the priciest part of the location was probably 20% of my budget for this past movie. It was expensive. But, a lot of times
Mhm.
people will offer up their house, which is very nice.
Mhm.
For a scene or for like a short, I can do that. But for the wraparound, I needed to rent a place because, we're there for a week. You know what I mean? Set
Yeah.
up, breakdown, filming. And so like sometimes people don't understand just how much space you take up when you film. And certain rooms are just they can't even enter because it's full of gear cases.
You're right.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
locations are pretty pricey generally.
What is your favorite part of what you do?
Oh man, there's so many parts. It's weird. Like you make your movie like three times. Like once is when you're writing it, you're making your story. Then when you're filming it, you're making your movie. And then when when you edit it, you're making your movie again. So like you're actually making it 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
and each time has their great moments. Like when you first finish the script, you're like, got it done. And then when you start filming and this movie, that something that came from your fingers and your brain is now in front of you and you're watching people perform, that's such an amazing feeling. And then when you
Yeah.
edit it, yeah, and then when you edit it, you're like, actually, it's working. It's all working. That's another high. And then when people actually watch it, is another high.
So there's not one favorite thing.
Yeah, not really. It's, I guess, because I'm so like entrenched in different aspects of it. I do pre-production and then I do post. So I'm in all 3 of the stages of the filmmaking. So there's like different.
Mhm.
Each one has their own highs.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
And, sometimes people have like, their favorite part of it where I do this other thing so I can get to do the thing I love to do. But it sounds like to me like you love all of it.
Yeah, it's great. It's constantly like I have checklists. Like I'm checking off, you know, how many actors do I need to hire when I get that first actor? Yes, I got the first actor. And then, as you cast another person, you check it off, check it off. And it's like, great, we got it. And then the next part, it's like, these are all the scenes I have to film, and it's so great checking off, you know?
Yeah,
So, yeah. So
that's
it's cool.
wonderful.
Yeah. And then actually one of the great moments is the thing that I don't do is compose music. So I
Okay.
have a composer, Ryan Williams, and whenever he sends me a soundtrack to a scene, I see it with music for the first time, because that was new to me, because everything else, I guess I've seen it. And
Right.
so when the music comes, it's the first time that's coming from someone else's like brain, you know what I mean? And so that for me is really exciting, seeing it with the music.
I'm getting excited, feeling excited hearing you talk about that. That just sounds like magic pulling that all together. Just
Yeah. So it's
awesome.
it's there's a lot a lot of there's it's mainly great. There's always frustrations when technology doesn't work, or certain weathers doesn't is not cooperative, or there's a lot of frustrating things that happen, but it's almost like you just got to roll with the punches, and
Yeah.
so far the great definitely outweighs the bad.
Yeah.
So
You're very fortunate to get to do what you love to do.
yeah, no, it's great. I wouldn't want to do anything any differently.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's wonderful. So if people want to get a hold of you, have any questions for you, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, Instagram, I'm pretty active on. That's probably, you could DM me on Instagram, and I have 2 different handles for that. I have Halloween Candy Movie and scared_stiff_films is my
Okay.
other handle. So you could DM me there. I try to respond whenever anyone has questions or just feedback or just to say hi.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know you have a pretty full schedule, so
Yeah,
sometimes it's hard to get back to people right away, but I think that's just being an adult. So, there's
right.
that. Um,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah, I'll have
wrapping it. Oh, go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
oh no, sometimes like you mentioned, it takes a while to get back. And sometimes like
Mhm.
I'll respond to people in my head, because if I'm like driving or on a shoot and I get a message, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I know how I'm gonna respond, and sometimes I don't get to it until I look. I'm like, oh my god, I never responded. In my head I responded because I'm just like, okay, as soon as I'm done with this shoot, I'll get to it. So I
Thank
will
you.
respond.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm not the only one. I
right.
appreciate that. That's awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with us before we wrap up today?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay.
If you watch the movie and you like it, share with your friends, and that's pretty much how the industry, the low budget indie film industry goes. It's just you got to support support other artists, and support your friends' businesses.
Yeah, that's very, very important. I
Yeah,
want to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with us the magic that you create.
yeah.
It's
Thanks for
really
having me.
cool.
This was a fun conversation.
Yeah, I love it. All right, everyone, thank you so much. And look for my events online because I'm working from home now. So cool events coming up online. Take care, and I'll see you next week on ParaMystic Podcast.
Trick or treat! Are you home alone?
Yeah, why do you ask?
Because there's someone in your house.
I think I might have gotten myself into a little trouble.
Trouble? What do you mean?